Welcome back to Distilled. We're talking about bourbon. What is bourbon, Matt?
I mean, bourbon essentially is just another whiskey, but it does have to be made. There's all these regulations, and some are kind of boring and whatever, but essentially it has to be made in the U.S., so it could be from any state. It has to be 51% corn, but from there it could vary.
Right.
How much corn? Usually has corn, rye, and malt. But then sometimes they have wheat instead of rye, and sometimes they have wheat and rye. Then they're using all kind of amaranth and all kind of other grains
Right.
in it too these days, just to play around with it. But and it has to be in a new oak barrel.
Right.
But it literally could be you pour it through a barrel into the bottle,
Okay.
and it touches the barrel inside, and that would count.
Wow.
To be a straight bourbon, it has to be a few years, and a certain regulations to be bottled in bond, which is kind of like this tax strip would imply that the government came in a bonded warehouse, and it has other restrictions, and they mostly don't matter because bottled in bond isn't really a regulation. It's more of a sales kind of throwback, kind of gimmicky kind of thing almost at this point.
Now,
But, yeah.
Now, what if you do exactly that and you don't do it in Kentucky? Is it still a bourbon?
Yes.
Yeah.
So the bourbons from Washington, from California, they all count as long as the U.S.
Okay.
I don't think if it's a territory that would count, but even Hawaii definitely should count because it's in the States. Yeah.
So it's got to be American. It's got to have corn in the mash.
51%.
51%.
Yeah.
51% corn, and then it's got to go through a new barrel.
And so sometimes you'll get something that went through a barrel that had been used once, and that can then only be called American whiskey, no longer bourbon, which is good. I mean, that's like a certain, and there's more than that too. There's other titles, but that's generally the thing, and it's good. It kind of makes it a very protected kind of thing, almost like champagne or something like that. It's cool.
Mm-hmm.
We have our own, unique
style.
Yeah, exactly.
Because I imagine that stuff gets evolved over time, and it's like, or not, or it's just like this is what makes a bourbon.
So the question is, who makes these rules?
Who makes the rules? I mean, this was the Bottle and Bond Act was actually the first food regulation in the country for any kind of food substance.
Oh,
it's because they were using stuff to stretch their booze by putting tobacco spit from the old spittoons at the bar and turpentine or some kind of crazy stuff in it that could actually kill you or make you sick.
Yeah.
To stretch it out. So I mean, that act helped really set it in. So these are heavy regulated. I'm sure it's same old stuff, the good old American way. I'm sure there's lobbyists involved. I'm sure these all these kind of things. But even how it has to be a new barrel, that's definitely from some kind of lobby or some kind of group promoting,
protecting their production of these barrels.
That's right, exactly. Yeah. And the logging industry and the barrel, the cooperage industry, and so it helps this whole kind of vertical integration of American industries.
Interesting.
And then that's why they go to Scotland. Then you have these scotches in these bourbon casks, or rum in bourbon casks, which we'll have some a little later. But there's a whole thing because they can't reuse it again and make more bourbon or more.
Interesting.
So this whole thing, this whole kind of ecosystem.
Like an economy of barrels. Yeah, move stuff through.
Interesting.
Cool, thanks.
Nice.
Questions?
No, so if I'm hearing correctly, it's like a safety thing, but it's also my brain goes towards does it limit the innovation or does it help it? Because sometimes that can help it as long as you stay within the lanes. You can kind of build anything you want. But has it been the outcasts, people that are like, nah, screw that, we're going to make our own thing. You just can't call it a bourbon, screw it, we'll just call it whatever we want.
Right. So that's
I don't know. I'm just
American whiskey.
The American whiskey category could be a buckshot of the different kind of things.
Interesting. Okay.
But bourbon, I think it's good. I think it's a succinct kind of thing for protected, just like a champagne or some other kind of food and
there is some looseness, and there's a lot of looseness in the parameters. But
I mean, this tastes quite different than our typical bourbon profile. I mean, it's still in the range of bourbon profile, but it's definitely not that same old what you expect kind of thing. I mean, some people argue that because of the rules, that bourbon basically will never be as complex as and variety and depth as Scotch, which probably sure doesn't make it worse. It's just maybe it's It's, it's just it is confined by its restraints of
Right.
the parameters it's given.
Yep.
But there's also now they're finishing in sherry cask afterward, or rum cask, and all kinds of different finishes now. It's very popular right now, and some people still call it bourbon, and that's a whole other thing. Should you call that bourbon?
Yeah.
I'm the school of thought that no, you can call it like finished bourbon or some kind of other category, but you want to protect bourbon for what it is, because that's our American thing, and call that something else, or labeled something else. Just it's to delineate the two,
right?
Because that's not a straight bourbon. It's not bourbon.
It's not bourbon proper.
Yeah.
Helps answer some questions, guys. Thanks for joining us.